Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Patreon podcast. This is episode 156, and if you divide that by 52, you end up with an even 3, which means this is the 3-year anniversary of the Patreon podcast, and that makes me really happy. I started this podcast, obviously in 2019, about a handful of months before the world started to come apart. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about in this episode, to kind of plan your possible future, because it's really hard to plan your actual future because there's a lot of things that happen in the world that are outside of your control. And I think for me, I remember in early 2019, I was in Tucson with my wife because we do the gem show there. And I sat down and I wrote out a 5-year plan of things that I wanted to do, things that were important to me and things that I wanted to accomplish during that time. And I think I have it around here. I don't know where it is exactly. I have it around here somewhere, but it's not immediately retrievable. But the point is that I planned out what I wanted to be doing over the next 5 years. And this was before I knew anything about like the pandemic and everything else that happened since then. And a lot of it I was able to still accomplish because it was all like digital. It was allowing me to kind of approach and continue to build the community, continue to build the 2-hour album challenge group and everything else related to that. But there were some other things that I wanted to do in the physical space. I wanted to do more game jams and play tests and things where I was actually like face to face with people and like collaborations and stuff like that. And all of that had to get put on hold because obviously I didn't want to go exposing myself to a bunch of strangers in the middle of a pandemic. So I think that, I should say that even though those plans didn't all pan out, a good portion of them did. And it allowed me to have kind of signposts on the way, in the ways that I wanted to be going when it comes to how to approach creative problems, or the creative problems that I was experiencing at the time. I guess that's a better way of putting it. Man, 3 years. So this is going to be a little bit of reminiscing too. I don't really have much of a plan for this episode aside from, just keep in mind that you do need to plan, but also be aware that those plans will change. So don't become married to those plans because, they'll always be fluid and you need to be able to move with that instead of push against it, because that kind of resistance, you can't push against everything. Like if I had been adamant on my list, and it's like, this is the list, this is the things that I have to do in the next couple of years. Like, I don't know. I would have been exposing myself to a lot of dangerous things. Like, I don't really want to, I don't want to go out into a bunch of group. I still don't want to go into a group of people, even though we're kind of hopefully at the tail end of the COVID pandemic. But it's just like, I would have forced myself to do it, and that would have been bad. Like, I know MagFest is still something that has been happening. I think it happened this year. I don't think it happened in 2021. But like going to MagFest is a ton of fun, but it's also something where it's just like you're crowded in like this room with people. And usually if you have a hotel room in that area, you're crammed like 5 or 6 people into a 2-bed, hotel room. So people are sleeping on the floor and it's just like, it's a huge mess. And like, I would not have been comfortable doing that. So I had to kind of change my plans. And that's okay. It's a bit of regret, but that's okay. But plans for my future now, I do still have plans. 2022 for me has been kind of a rebuilding year, I feel. There's a lot of things that I wanted to do this year, and I've accomplished most of them. Continuing to do the 2-hour album challenge, doing more game jam stuff and building games. I'm very happy with how Plunge turned out. The game that I made early in the year, Bullet Hero, I really want to get back to that one. I think that it could be a good game, but it kind of just, it was kind of just a nothing game right then, but that's okay. And the one I'm making now, Darkness Sleeps, I'm very, very pleased with how that's going. So like my goals there are fine. Continuing to build the community, continuing to do all that. And then the other big one for me is I really want to work on an audio, or well, it will be an audiobook too, but just an ebook on how to write a song in 2 hours, because that's very important for me. And it's been an important part of my life for the last like 6.5, 7 years. So that's on my list for the end of this year, because things keep getting pushed back even still. I've had plans for even this month of August. Like I wanted to finish Infinity Loop this month, and life decided otherwise, and that's unfortunate, but it happens. I'm still working on it. I'm working on it as fast as I can, even though that's pretty slow. But it's getting there. And, allergies and life stuff and all that other stuff, it's just, that happens, and you have to be fluid. You have to work around it. But yeah, as far as my future is concerned, like 2023, my big thing is I think I'm going to be hanging up the 2-hour track challenge, at least for a little bit. My goal right now is to get to over 403 episodes, which is what Bob Ross had for The Joy of Painting. And then I'll still do the weekly streams. I'll still do the weekly content, all of that other stuff. But it's just like one of those things where it's just like, I feel like I've gone as far as I can with the 2-hour track challenge time limit. And I want to make sure that I continue to like grow and evolve. So one thing I was thinking is, doing a stream where like the first hour or maybe hour and a half, depending on, how it goes, is to make like a little video game loop, something that's designed for media. And then I can, offer that to you guys, obviously. But that also gives me another avenue for, making asset packs for game developers, or maybe pushing that stuff onto stock music websites, stuff like that. Excuse me, man, I'm losing my voice. But the whole goal is to continue moving, but maybe just moving in a slightly different direction. I love the 2-hour track challenge, and obviously I'll still continue to do it when I feel the urge to, but doing it every week can be a bit exhausting sometimes, as much as I love doing it. So I want to try to change up the format, see how that goes. And that kind of idea of planning for the future, or that possible future, like who knows where things will be in a year, because I still have a good year, maybe a year and a half, or a year and a couple months before I hit that episode 400 and whatever. So August or later is as soon as I'll be able to hit that milestone. And even then I'll probably finish out the season that I'm on, because I don't want to just stop it, So even when I get there, like that's a full year away. I don't know where things are going to be in a year. So who knows? Maybe the 2-hour track challenge will blow up because I released the ebook and there's a lot of people interested in it. And I'm more than happy to continue the series if there's a ton of interest in it. For the most part, I've been doing these for myself and just kind of that whole process. But if suddenly people are very interested in that process, I'm more than happy to help teach people and grow through that. But in the meantime, I just wanted to try some new stuff. So I'm going to try some new stuff. There's nothing stopping me. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things. I think another big thing that I've been really working on, like I said, 2022 for me was a rebuilding year. I'm working on moving away from doing commissioned work, and I've been continually doing that. There's still a couple projects that are up in the air, in which may or may not turn out to be projects that I work on. I don't know. Depends on if the publishers get funding, I guess. So, man, I'm losing my voice. No. So yeah, I think that it's just really important to plan for the future, but don't exactly expect to get to the future that you're planning for. But having those notes and those lines that are something that you wrote down and that are like set on paper, and I think that that's really valuable to have that in place for you, because that gives you the opportunity to have a list of milestones to work toward, but just to understand that you might not actually make it all the way there, and that's okay. That's perfectly fine. So, yeah, I think I'm going to end this episode because apparently I can't talk well anymore. I do plan on continuing doing these podcasts. I have a couple more ideas for topics for the next 3 or 4 weeks after this. I have been running a little bit more dry on topics lately, so I don't know if anybody has suggestions for topics. I'm more than happy to talk about that. If you think that maybe we should do like little micro interviews with either Patreon subscribers or, somebody else, I'm more than happy to make that happen if people have interest there. Otherwise, I don't know. Like I want to keep talking about this stuff as long as I have the inspiration, but I don't want to force it. I don't want to be making episodes where I'm just like, I have to record something today because, Friday is coming up quick. But I don't know what to talk about. And I know I've done a couple of those in the past, but it makes me feel uneasy. And I want to make sure that when I do create these episodes that they are like, at least somewhat researched and somewhat, planned. Even if it's just a couple lines written down on paper, like what I have here. Like I have some of my plans for future episodes written down. So if people have ideas for content, that's fine. I do want to make sure that I keep doing it because obviously it's an obligation that I have set for Patreon. So that's something that I can look into. Maybe I can find some new ways of using this slot for something different. Maybe talking about music production or something else. I don't know. Either way, that's all I have for today. Thank you guys so much for listening, and thank you so much for being a Patreon supporter. I really, genuinely do appreciate it. I hope that you have a fantastic Friday and a wonderful weekend, and I will talk to you in the next one. Be remarkable.